A good evening to you RWL wrestling fans. We are in the Big D, Dallas, Texas tonight for the prelude to the RWL 2025 Sweet Revenge Tour. It's RWL Texas Thunder, the preview card. Welcome in one and all. I'm Don Hickson, and we have got two full broadcast booths here. I'm joined by Christy Ogilvie and Myron Schimmelman, and the entire broadcast team from RWL Snarl, including Wally Cardell, Johnny Bianco, and Hangman Tex Lynch. They say they do everything bigger in Texas, and it certainly looks like that to me, Tex.
Yeah, Don, look at the place. Packed to the rafters, packed to capacity, and I'm telling you, this is going to be one of the best supercards of the year. 3 full hours of RWL mat action that ain't none of you going to want to miss.
And as is the case with every RWL Supercard, it is an all-hands-on-deck affair, and you never know who you're going to see. Just wow.
All right, Wally Cardell, tell them all about the first match.
Yes, sir, Tex. First on the docket tonight, it'll be Eddie Guerrero, Jake the Snake Roberts, Bret the Hitman Hart, and Greg the Hammer Valentine in a 4-way matchup, the winner becoming #1 contender, facing Roddy Piper soon after for the RWL Legends World title.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to RWL Texas Thunder. The first match tonight, a #1 contenders fatal 4-way, 1 fall, with a 20-minute time limit. First, from El Paso, Texas, weighing 225 pounds, it's Latino Heat, Eddie Guerrero.
Well, I guess it goes without saying who I'm favoring to win this here fatal 4-way matchup to become the #1 contender and face Roddy Piper later on down the road during the Sweet Revenge Summer Tour.
For of the all-time greats of the business, all vying for a title shot against Roddy Piper. I'm sure you're partial to Eddie Guerrero, but for me, there's just no way to call a winner here. But Mr. Latino Heat is almost certainly heavily favored not just by you Tex, but this Dallas crowd also seems to be in Eddie's corner tonight.
Well, of course they are. It's Dallas. Could it be any other possible way?
Also, from Stone Mountain, Georgia, weighing 236 pounds, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Jake Roberts, a Legends Division superstar enjoying something of a resurgence in 2025, a former No Rules champion before Magic relieved him of the No Rules title. And nonetheless, Jake the Snake continues to compete and to stand ringside with his sister, Rockin' Robin. And Jake will be standing ringside with Rockin' Robin later tonight when she faces Alundra Blaze later on in the card. But right now, Jake the Snake is all about winning this 4-way matchup to get a shot at Roddy Piper to become the Legends World Champion.
Man, this is our opening match. Myron Schimmelman, you have outdone yourself again. Wow, any one of these 4 guys would make a great Legends World Champion. I'm sure Jake the Snake Roberts would love to be that guy.
Also, from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, weighing 235 pounds, here's the excellence of execution, Bret the Hitman Hart.
The Hitman, always a winner in the eyes of his fans, and always a threat to upset even in the toughest multi-person matchups. His technical and submission skills always give the Hitman a slight edge. Can he really go against 3 other all-time greats? Well, Bret has never cared much for Roddy Piper, and that's gonna probably be his motivation in this one.
Oh, he absolutely despises Roddy Piper. So you best believe he is going to do everything he possibly can to be the #1 contender for the Legends World Championship.
And from Seattle, Washington, weighing 252 pounds, Greg the Hammer Valentine.
You know, you got to admire the guts of Greg the Hammer Valentine. The last time we saw Greg Valentine, he was being stretchered out of the arena After a beating from House Tull and Dr. Zodiac of the MJ Ferrantino stable for pulling a foreign object on House Tull and getting himself disqualified in his last match. He's got to be all beat up and sore. He is my least likely candidate to wind up winning this fatal four-way, especially if he's still feeling the results of that last match.
Multi-person matchups like this can be extremely grueling and take a serious physical toll if you're not at 100%. And I'm thoroughly convinced Greg the Hammer Valentine cannot be at 100% right now.
All right, well, we got four big names, all with the same motivation, all with the same drive, all with the same goal. This is going to be a wild one for sure. Referee Willie Johnson rings the bell and off we go. Valentine and Jake and Bret and Eddie Guerrero have split up. Bret the Hitman Hart. Hard whip to Eddie Guerrero out onto the floor. Jake the Snake Roberts rounds up Greg Valentine, tags him with the right, and on the outside, Bret the Hitman Hart and Eddie Guerrero trade the shots back and forth. They lock up, they tussle. The Hitman shoves Guerrero back. Eddie Guerrero counters with a kick, and on the inside of the ring, Jake the Snake Roberts countered by Greg Valentine into a dragon screw. Eddie Guerrero with a kick to the midsection and a DDT to Bret the Hitman Hart. Jake the Snake Roberts escaping Greg Valentine's move, runs him down with a shoulder tackle, follows it up with a stomp to the midsection. Meanwhile, Eddie Guerrero gets his head driven into the apron by Bret the Hitman Hart. Jake the Snake Roberts with a long vertical suplex on Greg Valentine. A kick to the ribs from Jake to Greg. Arm drag from Eddie Guerrero on Bret the Hitman Hart. A chop across the chest. Eddie Guerrero with a series of kicks to the Hitman. The Hitman counters with an elbow to the leg. A couple of hard drives to Eddie Guerrero. Greg Valentine pitched over the top rope out onto the floor. Likewise, Eddie Guerrero. Jake Roberts with a hard right to Greg Valentine. And now Jake Roberts making his way towards Eddie Guerrero. And Bret the Hitman Hart's following him. Greg the Hammer Valentine out to lunch at the moment. The Hitman goes in, comes out, catches a kick to the midsection from Valentine, tags Valentine with the right. Eddie Guerrero in control of Jake the Snake Roberts on the outside. No countouts here. Referee can just stand by and watch. A clothesline to Valentine from the Hitman, Eddie Guerrero, abandoning Jake the Snake Roberts to move in on the Hitman, tags him with a couple of forearms. Bret the Hitman Hart being beaten back by Latino Heat. Bret the Hitman Hart counters Eddie Guerrero. Jake the Snake Roberts back in the mix again. Him and Greg Valentine get back into the ring. Valentine with a shot to the midsection on Jake and a running elbow takes Jake the Snake Roberts down. Meanwhile, on the outside, Eddie Guerrero and Bret Hart still mixing it up. They tussle. Guerrero shoves Bret the Hitman Hart back. A series of hard drags from Latino Heat. Bret the Hitman Hart counters with a forearm on the inside. Greg Valentine catches it right from Jake the Snake Roberts. A knee to the skull. The Valentine from Jake. Wait a minute, hold on now. Greg Valentine going back for the same trick. Just tagged Jake the Snake Roberts with that same foreign object. Eddie Guerrero with a drop kick on Bret the Hitman Hart on the outside. Jake the Snake Roberts would be out of it. Greg Valentine drops that elbow right across the back of the head of Jake the Snake Roberts as Eddie Guerrero and Bret Hart get here. Wait a minute, hold on. Here's a cover from Valentine. 1, 2, but look at this. Eddie Guerrero making a beeline for Valentine and putting a stop to that. Greg the Hammer Valentine blocks the figure 4 in on Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero quickly turning it around. Everybody's back in the ring now. Bret the Hitman Hart goes after Jake the Snake, falling suplex. Eddie Guerrero with Greg Valentine has him up, snap suplex, a headbutt from Jake the Snake Roberts to Bret the Hitman Hart. The Hitman whips Jake the Snake Roberts to the outside. Another suplex from Eddie Guerrero on Greg Valentine. Bret the Hitman Hart goes to work on Jake the Snake Roberts on the outside. Tries for the neck breaker and doesn't get it. Catches a knee to the midsection from Jake. Eddie Guerrero with the frog splash, but catches a couple of knees from Greg the Hammer Valentine, who's been able to hang with his other 3 opponents a hell of a lot better than I thought he would. Bret the Hitman Hart grabbed up by Greg the Hammer Valentine. Bret counters, gets a hold of Greg Valentine. He's got him up, sets him up, and there's a pile driver to Greg Valentine from Bret the Hitman Hart. Now he's going after Jake the Snake Roberts, spinning neck breaker. Eddie Guerrero seated on the outside, kind of out of it. The Hitman goes for the cover on Valentine. 1, 2, 3, and with nobody able to break the pin, Bret the Hitman Hart wins this one over Greg Valentine by pinfall.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time was 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Your winner, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Whoa, man, wow, and shut up, Bret the Hitman Hart pins Greg the Hammer Valentine, who was definitely not at 100%, Dandy Don, to win this matchup, and he will be facing Roddy Piper for the Legends World Championship somewhere down the road during the Sweet Revenge Tour, probably sooner than we expect.
When I put this match together, I specifically asked Greg Valentine if he was up to the task. He assured me he was, but there you go. I was looking at maybe Jake Roberts or Eddie Guerrero to pick up the win in this match, but Bret the Hitman Hart exploiting the weakness of Greg the Hammer Valentine to get a 3-count pinfall, and now he's the #1 contender for the Legends World title.
And we are going to be right back with a whole lot more RWL Texas Thunder. Stick around, it's going to be hot.